Let's compare tap water and bottled water. We spoke of the fact that billions and billions of dollars are spent on bottled water each year. We also mentioned that tap water is incredibly inexpensive in the United States, and we often take it for granted. It is about a tenth of a penny per quart. Here are some different localities, and then you compare them to some common bottled water. What is the difference, really? Well, let's do a side-by-side comparison. Are they safe? Well, yes, they both are safe. There are high safety standards for each. The EPA monitors the tap water, and the FDA monitors bottled water. Now, the FDA only looks at bottled water that goes across state lines, and it only looks at the plants maybe once a year. But it is also monitored by the International Bottled Water Association, the IBWA, and they have higher water quality standards than those imposed by the FDA or the EPA. There's also the point of fact that if they have any hint of contamination of their water, they will go out of business. Are either of them pure? No, and they should not be. As we've spoken of before, we need the ions, the dissolved ions in water for our bodies to survive, thrive, maintain the correct electrical uh, cell balance throughout our bodies. What problems are likely to exist? Well, the biggest problem for bottled water is the cost. It not only costs 1,000 times more than tap, it also brings about a lot of cost in energy and resources. For example, we look at it from cradle to grave. It takes energy to collect the water, to, to clean the water, to prepare the water, to bottle the water, to ship the water. And then at the end, the plastic containers are never go away. Only 3 to 5% of all plastics are ever recycled. Safety. Well, for bottled, like I said, the FDA asks the bottlers to self-police. They come by once in a while. The states also have their own levels of monitoring. There's been a lot made of the fact that bottled water manufacturers use municipal sources. That is, they'll take tap water. You've got to be careful, though. That's only part of the story. They subject that water to a lot more purification afterwards. They will do reverse osmosis, filtration, distillation. They then add a package of ions back in to make it safe and flavorful. So it is not as idyllic as the Alpine spring water, but Detroit city water starts off very good thanks to the EPA and gets even better for Pepsi by reverse osmosis. And you can usually see on the bottle it'll say reverse osmosis. Now, one study had found that the bottles themselves had bacterial contamination, but that obviously has not caused any people harm in this country. Tap water, oh boy, that is very, very safe. We talked a lot about the 40,000 tests that the Columbus EPA did on water. There is a concern, however, now that trace pollutants such as pesticides, household chemicals, and ironically, what are they called, nurdles, these are tiny little confetti-sized pieces of plastic, are contaminating our water with sub-parts per billion trace materials. For example, we look at things like estrogen coming out from synthetic estrogen from birth control pills, making it into our water through cleaned up sewage water. Fertility rates have been declining for some time now, and they are wondering if that might be a problem. They are also finding very scary things like hermaphroditic fish outside of Washington, D.C., and male seagulls sprouting female sex organs. So They are, it is a big issue right now, and we may find that the tests that they're using right now may not be sensitive enough to uh, be able to let us know what is in the water. Perhaps, oh, here is the biggest reason why people drink bottled water: taste and convenience. Tap water, I like tap water very much, and that's what I drink. I will also, unfortunately, I feel kind of guilty about it, drink bottled water because it tastes better. It doesn't have the chlorine taste, and it also is incredibly convenient. I don't like to drink soda, and it is much more thirst quenching. It is very hard to reuse the bottles. They're not meant to be reused, and being able to clean them to remove contamination from your mouth into the bottle is near impossible. However, the cost for bottled water may be too high for the convenience. Here is uh, a table, or I'm sorry, a figure from your textbook, and it goes through all the different steps of bottle makes it from the manufacturing facility to market. All right, now let's talk about a huge problem with bottled water and plastics in general. Perhaps bottled water is the poster child for this, but we are a throwaway society when it comes to plastics. Only invented 144 years ago, the science best guess that it's going to take a couple more centuries for the stuff to break down and biodegrade. And meanwhile, every year we churn out about 60 billion tons of the stuff, much of which becomes disposable products meant for, like I say, just single use. Plastic never really goes away, and a lot of it's ending up in the oceans as, like I say, these small nurdles the size of confetti, and they're collecting in gyres. There are about 6 gyres around the world. Each of these gyres is like a garbage patch. It is a place, a dead zone in the ocean where things collect, and they are uh, miles and miles long. They, like I say, they collect the plastic in these kind of churning toilets that never flush. They found that animals going through them have, well, everywhere animals start eating these small pieces of plastic, and sometimes it kills them, like bottle caps, cigarette lighters, colored scraps. One animal dissected seabird was found to contain 1,600 pieces of plastics. But all sea creatures are threatened by floating plastics, from whales down to zooplankton. Plus, these little tiny pieces of plastic hold in them perhaps very scary minute amounts of different chemicals. Some chemicals, like phthalates, are used to make plastics soft and pliable. Others are used to make the plastics heat resistant. And at least when it comes to these phthalates, they've been found in our blood, urine, saliva, breast milk, amniotic fluid. There's another one called PBA, which we make 6 billion pounds of it a year, and people have found it, they found it in every single American that they have tested for. So we're eating these plasticizing additives, drinking them, breathing them, absorbing them through our skin every day. Now, why don't we recycle these plastics? We seem to have a big push to do that. Well, unfortunately, that promising looking triangle of arrows that appears on products doesn't always signify endless reuse. It merely identifies which type of plastic the item is made of. And of the seven different plastics in common use, only 2 of them, PET, which has a number 1 inside the triangle, used for soda bottles, and HDPE, high density, labeled number 2, used in milk jugs, have much of an afterlife. All told, only 3 to 5% of plastics are recycled in any way. And you can't use them for food products again. You've got to put another layer, a virgin layer, between them and the food. So, um, unlike recycling glass, metal, or paper, recycling plastic doesn't always result in less use of virgin material. It also doesn't help that fresh-made plastic is far cheaper. There are new biodegradable starch and corn-based plastics. Walmart, for example, has signed up as a customer. It would be, I think we're going to see a consumer rebellion against dumb and excessive packaging. And places like California are talking about banning plastic bottles altogether. So we have to weigh the two together, the good taste and convenience of bottled water and perhaps the added safety uh, due to the increased cleaning versus the amount of energy we put into making bottled water and the horrible refuse or legacy that plastic is leaving.